Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. And here's your meme of the day, brought to you by 5mind.com. Just freaking cue the DJ Khaled meme.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
Congratulations, you Democrats freaking played yourselves. You know, they tried to set up this trap here for Republicans to fall into. Chuck Schumer had it all calculated and planned. Ooh, these evil Republicans, they will fall in my trap. But instead it seems he set a trap for himself and then fell in it face freaking first. They wanted to sell this government shutdown as a Republican healthcare crisis, but it seems like the only thing they accomplished was shining a freaking floodlight on their own damn mess. Yeah, they wanted you to subsidize it, of course, but what a mistake it was to put Obamacare at the head of the policy issue docket. They've now put a massive spotlight on the Obamacare price spiral, the subsidy racket that big insurance companies are benefiting from, all of it. Their plan was to expose GOP evil white supremes cruelty, but instead they exposed their own policy failures. This entire stunt, in my view, has now turned into a mirror, and the reflection is absolutely brutal for these idiotic Dems who played themselves, as now the conversation has started to evolve and it's moving into a place that is not very beneficial for the Democrat image, let me tell you that. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so let's first lean on this Scott Jennings clip, because I think he did a great job at explaining the position. This is what I've been saying for the last couple of days.
And I'll tell you one thing this has exposed, though, the complete and total failure of Obamacare. I mean, it's not affordable. You know, people that have it don't feel like it even is real insurance. And now we see, I mean, it's a mess. And if anytime the government's having to subsidize something like this, it's not working in the first place. And so I think the American people are realizing just how messed up the American healthcare system is, and the regime under which we live is Obamacare. But look, I think a lot of Republicans do not want people to see skyrocketing premiums, and so we'll see what that debate looks like. This whole thing has exposed this outlandish money laundering scheme where your tax dollars go right into insurance companies, and your health insurance never gets better, your health care never gets better, your health outcomes never get better. That's what we have exposed here. So what our responsibility is as a Republican Party, how do we stop getting your tax money to insurance companies, and how do we put more actual money into the health care of the American people? Because I can assure you, writing a bunch of checks to insurance companies doesn't make your health care any better.
Exactly. Democrats haven't convinced anyone that Republicans have created a healthcare crisis. In fact, no, they exposed the opposite, their own making of a crisis. They put Obamacare at the forefront, and now people are digging and digging and digging. And you know what surfaced? Is the receipts. All of a sudden, I think a lot of people are starting to realize this whole ACA thing is a freaking shell game. And don't take it from me, no, take it from the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare's chief architect. You know, back in the day, this Jonathan Gruber guy, Democrats were always claiming that he was the brains behind the ACA. Well, after they actually passed the bill, here was Jonathan Gruber's perspective.
Politically, you just literally cannot do it. Transparent financing, unless I have transparent financing, also transparent spending. I mean, this bill was written in a tortured way to make sure CBO did not score the mandate as taxes. If CBO scored the mandate as taxes, the bill dies. So it's written to do that. In terms of risk-rated subsidies, if you had a law which said healthy people are going to pay in, it made explicit that healthy people pay in and sick people get money, it would not have passed. Just like the people, lack of transparency is a huge political advantage. And basically, you know, call it the stupidity of the American voter or whatever. But basically, that was really, really critical to getting the thing to pass. And, you know, it's the second best argument. Look, I wish Mark was right. We can make it all transparent, but I'd rather have this law than not.
Again, keep in mind, that's the guy who put together a lot of the structure for the ACA. And he went on the record saying that by the time it got in the politicians' hands, they totally corrupted the bill. And the passage of the new bill relied on essentially the stupidity of the American people, the voters who supported it. Yeah, no surprise there. Democrats relying on low information voters to do their frickin' bidding. But you know, I'm loving it, because now all of a sudden, Democrats have started a conversation that I don't think they want to start. And the receipts keep piling up. You know, the whole conversation right now is around healthcare premiums, right? Well, wasn't one of the main promises of the passage of the ACA that they would keep premiums down? They would make healthcare more affordable?
It will actually reduce the deficit by $4 trillion over the long term. Reducing the waste and inefficiency in Medicare and Medicaid will pay for most of this plan. It will slow the growth of healthcare costs for our families, our businesses, and our government. There will be a provision in this plan that requires us to come forward with more spending cuts if the savings we promised don't materialize.
Yeah, well, what happened to that? Now the new standard is, well, we're gonna continue making healthcare more and more unaffordable, and you're gonna have to pay for it. And of course, all of this is going on as Chuck Schumer is still going on and on about the president, quote, refusing to fix healthcare.
Of Donald Trump's cruelty. He shut the government down longer than any president in American history, took innocent kids, veterans, federal workers as political hostages, all because he refuses to do anything to fix the healthcare crisis, and instead keeps pushing policies that will cut people's coverage even more. Look no further than Donald Trump's war on SNAP. Last night, the First Circuit reaffirmed what lower courts have already said. Donald Trump cannot take 42 million hungry people as hostages. He cannot withhold the benefits they need for food for their families. Even now, Donald Trump isn't satisfied. Today, even more cruel, he appealed to the Supreme Court yet again to try and get out of paying full SNAP benefits. The president's done a lot of cruel, nasty, mean things over the years, but going all the way up to the Supreme Court not once but twice to ensure kids go hungry is about as cruel a thing as he's ever done. Donald Trump would rather make hungry Americans suffer, make kids suffer, make veterans go hungry and disabled individuals suffer, than do anything to lower health care costs for the American people. The American people will not forget Donald Trump's cruelty and heartlessness over the last 6 weeks. Let me say something else. The American people have now awoken to Trump's health care crisis.
Yeah, give me a frickin' break, fix healthcare, as if Democrats are interested in that. They want to continue subsidizing this mess. And you know what? Republicans might have been in the position where they would have continuously spent on these subsidies, just gone along with this Democrat scam, but instead now I think the conversation has shifted, and they're now in a stronger position than ever to start pushing back. That was the initial fear, right? That Republicans aren't gonna vote for our extensions. You know, they probably were, but now they won't. Democrats, you played yourselves, you monumental morons. And this idea of Republicans refusing to fix healthcare, it's been one of the top conversations all year. James Blair really lays it out here.
I think what's important is we should talk about the substance of what they are claiming this was all about, which is healthcare. The President Trump and the Republicans have been focused on health care all year, and I'd like to give you a few examples. Back when we passed our reconciliation bill, the House passed a program called the Cost Sharing Reduction Program, which would have lowered premiums across the board by over 10%. And the Senate Democrats used a procedural move to knock that out of the Senate version of the bill. So ultimately, it did not get passed because they got it knocked out. That's something we still want to achieve. President Trump, again, last week did another negotiation with drug companies under his most favored nation proposal to drastically lower the cost of prescription drugs. That's something we're going to keep doing. He's been doing that all year. We did expand health savings account in the reconciliation bill, as the president referenced on his X. So we have been wanting to discuss health care this whole time. The president has said he wants to discuss health care this whole time. But what's happened is the Democrats held everybody hostage for the last 40 plus days to just really extend a system that is not working. As the president put up over the weekend, the insurance companies have made huge fortunes while they continue to raise premiums on everybody. And at some point, we have to say, this isn't working. This is too expensive for everybody. So we've got to make changes. And the Democrats have not been interested in making any changes.
And of course, the only person in the room right now who's actually trying to find solutions, again, is President Trump.
But the president, just in the past 36 hours, has put out a number of social media posts. It sounds sort of like he's proposing something in regard to health insurance payments. He said, I'm recommended to Senate Republicans that hundreds of billions of dollars currently being sent to money-sucking insurance companies to save bad health care provided by Obamacare now be sent to the people so they can purchase their own much better health care. He also said they should terminate Obamacare. What does this alternative system look like? Because the entire standoff is about health care right now.
Right. Well, the president is, a beautiful tactician, a beautiful negotiator, and what he's what he said, he's brainstorming and trying to help the Senate come up with a deal that can get the government open. And one of the things you could do is conservatives believe that they don't want the government to micromanage people's lives. And, everybody believes that people should have health care. And so why not take the people who have higher health care premiums and just mail them a check and let them decide? The reason why it could have an effect is that there are multiple tiers under the Affordable Care Act of different types of insurance. And it could be that people would rather have the money and go from this kind of plan to that kind of plan and save themselves a little bit. And so that's basically giving the people an opportunity opportunity to make more choices than the government usually lets them.
Is this the Senator Cassidy proposal?
I'm sure that Senator Cassidy and President Trump talked about it, but whether he agrees with everything with Cassidy, I haven't talked to him about yet.
Well, does the Republican leader in the Senate accept
the
this
president
proposal?
has started this idea yesterday. I don't think that it's been discussed widely in the Senate yet.
But this is not the Republican Party's position.
As of right now, it's not the Senate position, but the president thought it was something they should think about.
Exactly. Donald Trump wants to negotiate. Donald Trump wants to strategize. He wants to find an actual solution rather than continuing to fund this collapsing, failed program. He's talking about direct-to-consumer purchasing power, healthcare credits. He's talking about increasing competition, more healthcare providers, competing for dollars that the consumers are holding. He wants to increase supply, lower prices, but Democrats don't even want to have that conversation. And that really tells you all that you need to know, because they're pretending as if they have the high road here, but the government shutdown proves that they aren't doing things properly. The real way that you govern, if you have an issue, especially as damning and consequential as this one, the right thing to do is to find a solution, to actually engage on a bipartisan fashion and to try to work together to fix the problem. But Democrats do not want to do that. They don't even want to have the conversation. No, they'd rather take people hostage. They'd rather shut it all down, cause damage. And that tells you all that you need to know. And I think this right here is the opening. There is an opportunity to fully expose these people, an opportunity to present real reforms, to present something different, because we already know big state healthcare has already failed. The same thing always happens when you put the hands in the power of the government. It gets wasted, it gets spent inefficiently. You pay all these taxes, you have this big bloated government program that isn't delivering. Well, now Republicans ought to offer a different solution. Come up with something new, something that actually works for the people. The Democrats got their chance. They created a Democrat healthcare crisis, and now it's time for Republicans to take that opportunity, to seize that opportunity, especially now as Chuck Schumer has put it at the forefront of the political discussion. He has exposed his party's failure, and now is time to come in and fix what the Democrats have broken. Good job, Democrats. You played yourselves. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.